Now, just a few months after saying goodbye, Sandra and her 3 daughters are eager to share their story, as haunting as it may be. But it's their hope that other younger firefighters will listen and that other fire departments will do everything they can to save their own.
There just needs more awareness, training, funding, health insurance, scans. You know, whoever will listen to me, I'll talk to. There's a fight that needs to be fought. And my girls and I want to fight it.
Mario Arangio was the youngest chief ever in the history of the Watertown Fire Department. And his family says that should serve as a warning to everyone that cancer can hit at any age. Ahead tonight, we'll show you what's now being done on day 1 for the youngest recruits that could save their lives.
Every single one of us know the risks of cancer now. I don't know anybody who's actually resigned because of it.
They serve the city they love. How to protect them when Boston's bravest returns. Here again, reporting from one of Boston's oldest firehouses, Boston 25 News anchor Blair Miller.
We've been telling you about the hazards these firefighters face every shift, and it goes far beyond the flames. It's their equipment. It's the toxins they're breathing in. A big part of all this has to do with the masks that they wear during a dangerous fire. And if you can imagine, there was a time when many firefighters didn't wear their masks. They wanted that smoky look on their face almost as a sign of bravery. That culture has changed. Recently, I sat down with a group of Boston firefighters for a frank discussion on what you don't see and what you don't hear. When we talk about cancer in this agency, what comes to mind?
When? Inevitable?
Yeah. It's everywhere.
Who's next?
Will I make it to retirement?
Keith, you've been with the agency the longest, right?
Yes. My thing is, like I said, is, you know, I don't want to be diagnosed with cancer and then I'm retiring and I got a year to live. You know, I want to live to see, you know, my grandkids.
But when you started, you said it was 1993.
Yes.
To now, the change from when you first came on to now, I mean, was cancer even an issue when you came on with the agency?
No. No, it wasn't. We didn't know what I mean, when we signed up for the job, we signed up to help the citizens of Boston. And you never knew this kind of risk was there. You know, we didn't even think about, you know, cancer back then. But now when you start seeing all the firefighters on duty that's being diagnosed with this, it's like wondering, am I next?
You really do wonder that?
Yes.
Lieutenant, I saw you shaking your head. I saw you guys all shaking your head. But you've been in this firehouse the most of everybody here, right?
15 years.
And you've seen 3 firefighters in this house die from occupational cancer?
That have died, yes. But I can think of at least a handful others who have beat cancer, but have come down with it.
What do you make of that?
The scariest thing for me is not knowing what type of cancer to look for.
Billy.
Sir.
This probably has hit you and your family the hardest, literally.
Yep.
Your father worked in this firehouse.
House. Yep.
Same firehouse where you worked?
Yes, sir.
He had occupational cancer?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
16 years ago this month. A couple days. Be 16 years.
What's this like for you?
This is everything to me. This job is everything to me. It's the only thing I've ever wanted.
But I have to wonder, I mean, isn't it hard to walk in here knowing that your dad worked here doing something he loved so much, but it killed him?
It killed him. You're going to live with that. That's a choice I have to make, and my younger brother, who's a lieutenant on the job as well, has to make. Something that we've seen already. Seen my mother suffer, seen my brother suffer. You know, watch my father die. Still want to be here. It's the only thing I want.
So, what do you do differently when you're going out on one of these trucks? You're on the ladder truck.
I am.
What do you do differently?
Just in the last few years, I've really been trying to wear my mask more.
And when I got on, a lot of guys, we didn't wear our mask. You know, it's like, inhale the smoke, take it. If you breathe it, you breathe it. But we didn't know what we was breathing in. So now that we're getting diagnosed with this, it's like, wow, why couldn't I put my mask on back then?
But go back years, I think each one of you guys have said there's been a situation where you haven't had your mask on, or for whatever reason. It used to be fairly common.
Correct.
Why? There wasn't masks at one point.
Macho. And the more smoke you could take, the further in the building you could go to get to people that other people couldn't get because maybe they couldn't take that much smoke.
Badge of honor.
So you wouldn't put your mask on until you absolutely needed it. And the second you could take it off, you would take it off to be able to stay in the building and do your job for as long as you could.
Jose, I want to turn to you. You're the captain here, right?
Yes, sir.
So, if you see one of these guys with their mask off fighting a fire, what do you do?
Well, immediately I told him to put it on. No question asked.
So now, when you don't have your mask on, then that's your fault now. Because now the rules is that you have to have your mask on.
It's not hard to prevent it. It's up to us to do the right thing and cover up and wear your equipment when you're supposed to.
Do you think the public gets this? Do you think they realize
No.
what's going on here?
No, not to the extent that we do. Not to the extent our families do.
What do your families or your spouses say about this?
We don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it?
Can't.
Why?
Let's have to talk about something that's, seems to be inevitable, but and is a really horrible subject. Like what's there to talk about besides, I'm sure they feel this way, like besides wanting you to quit.
Do you guys, at the end of the day, do you now feel safe?
Yes.
When I asked that question, I felt some hesitation, and maybe it's yes, you feel safe now.
Safer going forward.
Safer.
It might be a little too late for a lot of guys. I mean, going forward, safe, yes, but I'm sure there's, me included, people that are still scared about whether you're safe.
Put it this way. There's, 1,500 guys in our job? Every single one of us know the risks of cancer now. I don't know anybody who's actually resigned because of it.
Those firefighters also told me there is a very real discussion happening on this topic at firehouses all across Boston, and much of that is focusing on the solutions.
We're going to start thinking about how best we protect firefighters from these exposures.
Up next, new hope for the future. Boston's bravest, facing a hidden killer.
There's no silver bullet here.
Now making changes to protect those who protect us.
While working on these reports, many people have asked me why Boston seems to have more firefighters suffering from cancer than other agencies in other big cities. The commissioner told me this city took too long to respond. But now many changes are happening in an effort to save lives. From the outside, most firehouses in New England have that gritty, historic look. On the inside and behind every fire, changes are being made, largely due to the spike in cancer cases impacting firefighters. These are changes that could truly save lives. In the last few years, the city of Boston has thrown millions and millions of dollars into fixing this. After a serious fire, the firefighters' gear used to end up here, hanging on the wall, despite any of the toxic chemicals from the flames interwoven in the material. Firefighters would reuse the gear over and over. Researchers believe that would constantly expose firefighters to the risk of ingesting dangerous fumes or chemicals call after call. Now they have 2 sets of gear in Boston. If there's a bad fire, one set is washed and a backup set of gear is then used. Here in Chelsea, Engine 2 ranks in the top 5 busiest fire engines in the country per capita. They've made similar changes to help protect firefighters.
This is for the turnout gear?
Chelsea Deputy Fire Chief John Quantieri showed me the new washers and then took us downstairs. Here in this enclosed separate area, they put their gear to dry.
So you can see this is where everything gets hung up. Pants, the coat,
place for their hood, their gloves. We try to get as much of that contaminant off their gear as soon and quickly as possible.
Last year, the city of Boston spent $4.5 million on these air tanks that the firefighters wear. They provide firefighters much more oxygen to use, so there isn't the urge for firefighters to take them off. What used to be 30-minute capacity tanks now expanded to 45-minute tanks. And then there's the firehouses themselves. Boston has some of the oldest fire stations in the country. Here in Charlestown, there's been a firehouse in this spot since 1853, the oldest in Boston, and known for blending in among its neighbors around Bunker Hill. It's now under renovation, $3.8 million worth, and many of them are designed to keep firefighters away from any cancer-causing chemicals. But perhaps most groundbreaking is what's happening with the new recruits. Those just sworn in February gave their blood.
So I'm going to place the needle right inside the vein.
Every year, the department will take their blood and analyze it for any possible red flags associated with cancer. Boston is one of the first departments in the country to do this.
There you go, my friend.
But why now? Why all the major changes, one after the next, to help firefighters deal with a problem they faced for years? Commissioner Finn believes the previous mayor, Thomas Menino, dropped the ball.
You have not really hid behind the fact that the previous administration ignored these calls.
Well, the previous administration ignored all of this.
Why do you think the previous administration didn't do anything about this?
I just don't know. There's probably a lot of reasons. The ongoing conflicts, union conflicts, and battles over contracts, I think played a part into it. But you could ignore the facts. The facts were what they were. We could see. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we had an exorbitant amount of members suffering from cancer and dying from cancer during that past administration. And people didn't want to make the change.
The previous fire commissioner, Roderick Fraser, disputed that, saying, "We did things that should have been done," and that the previous mayor, Thomas Menino, had a deep sense of commitment to the public safety of everyone in the city. But Fraser wouldn't say how involved the mayor was on this issue.
I'm gonna die. And the question I asked him was, when?
In the meantime, the Boston Fire Department has now produced these videos, all very intense, to help educate firefighters on the real-life dangers and hear the stories of those who battled cancer, some who've lost their battle.
I have kidney cancer. I have brain cancer.
Our members are dying at an exponential rate to occupational cancer.
It's even landed Commissioner Finn in front of audiences across the country, where he's told Boston's story and urging other fire departments to follow his lead.
There's no silver bullet here.
We caught up with Commissioner Finn here in Orlando as he spoke at a conference on cancer and shared the harsh reality of what's happening back home.
In Boston, the biggest challenge we face right now, which is changing, believe me, it's changing moving in the right direction, is the sense of invincibility.
While Commissioner Finn is eager to help the hundreds of firefighters who've been diagnosed, it's also his mission to focus on the future now, before it's too late for hundreds more.
Hopefully this thing plateaus or starts declining. That's the goal, right? But I think the next generation and the changes we make, even the younger generation, the guys who are less than 10 years in the job, we can make a difference in their lives now.
Commissioner Finn largely credits Mayor Marty Walsh for approving the changes here at the Boston Fire Department. I sat down with the mayor and asked him about the difference it's making and if it's enough.
This is an important issue to you.
Absolutely. I mean, these are the men and women that work for me every day, if you will, and they keep us safe and they protect us. And when there's a burning building, they're running into it as other people are running out.
How deep is this for you? Because you have firefighters dying.
Yeah, it's deep because I know the firefighters are dying, and I know some of them. And then when you, now as mayor, regardless of who they are, I know them just because they work for the Boston Fire Department, and I'm the mayor, and it's, you know, me and the commissioner that are the people that, and the head of the union that protect them. And I think that's something that I take personal.
When the commissioner says that he gets a new diagnosis every 2-3 weeks, what do you think when you hear that?
He'll let me know what's going on, and I think about what we're doing, and it's not being done quick enough, and it certainly wasn't done early enough.
How comfortable are you with what's being done now?
I wouldn't say I'm comfortable. I would say that, you know, we've made a lot of investment. We're going to continue to make investment.
I told you we spent earlier with a group of firefighters, and we had a really frank conversation with them. And I asked them, do you feel safe now? And they said, we feel safer. Is that comforting to you?
No, it's not good enough. I mean, I'm glad they feel safer, but the safer it means that some of the investments were made, but